In just a minute at the top of the hour. And for those of you who are sitting in, just sit tight. We'll get going here. Just 1 second. All right, the stream's ready. What do you think, Nick? You want to go?
Yeah. Yeah. Happy
Okay,
to.
sweet. Okay, everybody. I'm the voice that you hear is I'm Kevin. I'm the head of community at Sequence. We put on these workshops every couple of weeks for folks who are new to the platform. We're trying to figure out what the platform is all about, and we are really lucky to have them led by Nick Sisler, my colleague who is on the hot seat this morning. Nick, thank you as always. And do you want to just tee up who you are for these guys and a little bit about your background?
Yeah. Yeah. You bet. So I run the partnership side and affiliate side here at Sequence. Been in personal finance for close to 2 decades now. Was a financial advisor for a number of years and ran a team there. Been at Vanguard, New York Life, Asset Map, a number of different fintech companies. So love this space. Really excited to help people, improve their finances. And I've started my own company multiple times, so know the world of the small business owner and managing your finances. So love getting the opportunity to talk through this and help everybody out get started.
Amazing. I'm just going to say one more thing, and then I will hand the stage over to you. If you guys have questions for Nick throughout, we are going to pick those up, but it's probably easiest if you just drop those into chat. So drop them into chat. We'll get them as we can. And without further ado, let me hand things off with the man with the plan.
Awesome. Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, and as Kevin said, we want to make this interactive, so please, please, please ask any and all questions. I mean, I'm more than happy to talk for an hour straight with everybody, but at the same time, we found it's way more valuable when people are able to ask their own questions, and even at the end, we can happily bring some people on, kind of troubleshoot or go through any specific questions that you got. The goal today, walk you through kind of like what is Sequence, spend the first couple minutes like what is Sequence, why are people using it, some of the success stories, but really trying to use the vast majority of our time showing you actually how to do this stuff because we've found that it's far more helpful to actually literally build inside of Sequence. So today we're literally going to build out an entire Sequence map for business owner individual so you guys can understand, see how other people are using it and how you can leverage it in your own personal life and business life. So with that, let me share my screen. Kevin, just give me the thumbs up when you see this up and running. We
I
good?
can see it. Yep.
Awesome. Awesome. So now we're here. This is the goal today, right? Helping people make better or smarter money decisions and how you get started with Sequence. So with that, what is Sequence, right? Some of you may have already signed up. Some of you may have just heard about us. Some of you maybe been using it for years. But what we do is we help people visualize and automate your money flow. Setting up smart rules, we're able to move money effortlessly between your different accounts and help you ideally build that financial security that we're all looking for. Because, especially as a former financial advisor, one of the biggest challenges that we had working with clients, everybody wants to do better with their money. It doesn't matter how much you're making. Could be 10,000 a year, 100,000 a year, a million plus a year. Most everybody wants to do better with their money, but what do they want to do better with it is always kind of that tricky challenge. And so there's plenty of great budgeting tools out there that'll essentially help you look in reverse, right? We've all used Mint or Rocket Money. I still use Rocket Money myself or Monarch. Great for looking and analyzing what we spent. But what we're trying to solve is the problem moving forward, the behavior side. Like, what can we actually do better so that we can actually accomplish the goals we want rather than just always looking in the rear view mirror? So with that, we see three types of people primarily using Sequence. We've got the kind of basic money movement. So a lot of our users will start out just simply, they just want to get an emergency fund set up. Everybody knows that's important, but let's be honest, it's pretty challenging because the vast majority of people have their paycheck, whether you're a W-2, just working a regular job, or you've got your own business or maybe a side hustle and a regular job. Okay, odds are most of you are having all of your money deposited directly into your primary checking account. And out of that checking account comes your car payments, your insurance payments, your mortgage or rent, all of the different pieces, the fun money, the pizza nights out, all of those different pieces. It's a really hard way for you to accumulate wealth. And so we have a lot of people just simply starting with creating an emergency fund and making sure that every single month, $100 or 10% of their money goes into that account so that they're starting to set money aside into different buckets that they can't as easily pull out of when, maybe they overspend at the mall or something like that. I don't know if anybody actually goes to the mall anymore. Amazon would have probably been a better analogy there. But the next group of people is a bit more advanced budgeting. So I'm a big Ramit Sethi fan. Got a couple of his books up here. If you haven't read it, he's got some amazing content when it comes to like the behavioral side of finance. More advanced budgeting. So maybe you're starting to spend it out. Like in our family, the way that we have it set up, not only do we have our emergency fund, but then below that, we split our bills into one account so that whether it's recurring expenses are all coming out of one account. And then our fun money, like the date nights, the stuff that we want to do with our kids is coming out of another account. We've got a vacation account. We've got all of these different accounts where specific money is coming out of that account so that I know when I log into my checking account, I know exactly how much money I have to spend on fun stuff rather than just seeing a bucket of money with all of my money and having to mentally allocate, okay, well, we need to leave some for bills and we need to leave some for the next vacation. And my kids' summer camps we have to pay for. It's really hard to to mentally account for all of those different funds. So more of our advanced budgeting, we'll see kind of allocating those different funds for the different resources into different accounts. So that's kind of group two. And group three is the more complex business and personal automations because we've got some amazing users who have set up some of the most complex flows. Kevin, you probably see this more than even I do. Some of these flows are unbelievable. Hundreds of
Oh yeah,
accounts. Like, yeah, you might be able to talk to that better than me.
borderline audacious. But yeah, people, we see really simple ones, and then we see some that are pretty intense.
Pretty intense indeed. Indeed. So we're not going to like what I would recommend personally, having gone through this with a few hundred people now, starting basic, and then we can always ratchet up the complexity. Don't try to go immediately unless you're that engineer type and you love programming, you love diving into the weeds and you already have multiple spreadsheets on your finances. I would not recommend to anybody who's not in that group to dive right into the complexity. Let's start basic and then we can continue to build and grow. And we'll show you exactly how to do that today. So just to give you a quick sense, like this is actually working, right? We're all about the social proof. And so want to highlight a couple of users. We get love letters as our CEO Gilad calls it all day, and I'll show you a couple of them. But this is the type of real success that people are having. $41,000 of debt paid off in 7 months, saved 90 minutes per week. This is one of our users, Dave, $1,000 of additional new savings, and it reduced his debt in half. Again, we're talking 7 months. So these are real people, normal people who are just finally taking control of their finances. And imagine if you were able to cut your debt in half in less than a year. Like these are the almost the entire population of the US, probably the world, but of the US specifically, their primary goals every New Year's is lose weight, save more money. And imagine being able to cut your debt in half and increase your savings by $1,000 a month. Next user, James here, saved $5,000 in his first 2 months. That was 2 hours per week. A lot of these people are business owners who are manually moving money to different accounts. So that's where the time savings comes in. Started automating his investing of $2,000 per month. And when you start to think of the compounding growth of an account, if you're putting in 2,000 more dollars every single month, that's an insane amount of wealth that you're starting to build and now has his spending 100% under control. And here are some of the love letters. Like we literally get these. We have an entire Slack channel just dedicated to testimonials that we're getting from clients, and they're coming in every single day. People just having some unbelievable success. So, one, just call that out. This isn't just theory. This is actual practical use that we're seeing every day, every week, every month, and people finally taking control of their finances. So, kind of cover the quick background, but again, a lot of experience in this personal finance world. It's near and dear to my heart. My uncle, you can't really see it, but passed away unfortunately when I was like 23 years old. And because he made he made many great decisions, but one great decision that he ended up taking out a life insurance policy before he passed away unexpectedly. And each of his nieces and nephews, there were five of us, got a check in the mail and it literally transformed my life. I got a $120,000 check when I was 23 years old. At the time, I was making $32,000 a year. So it was four times my annual income. And it literally transformed my life. Not only that, my then girlfriend, now wife, was able to quit her job and go back to med school, which she'd always wanted to do, but we weren't going to be able to afford. And then that ripple effect to the life that that's now provided for us and our kids and my brother and his kids and my cousins and their kids. Like it's unbelievable how if any individual can make one great decision when it comes to their finances, the massive impact that that has not only for them, but then everybody inside of that rippling growth. Like it is unbelievable what one good decision when it comes to finances, what that can make for both you, your family, and for generations to come. So that's why this is so personal to me and why we take so much pride in helping people get to this next level when it comes to wealth accumulation. So with that, sequence, pretty basic. We can get real complex, but at its core, pretty basic, right? This is 4 steps. First, we're going to connect our accounts. We're going to determine our goals. We're going to create the rules to get us to those goals and then literally sit back and relax. And that's what we're going to go through here in this kind of demo process where we're building out real maps for everybody. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to build two different situations, kind of build them off of each other because they naturally tie in. And I don't know, by a show of hands, or maybe just in the chat, if you're here, maybe you can put in where you're located and then, what do you do for income? Are you an employee? Do you own a business? Like giving us some idea would be great so that we can continue to customize this for everybody. But would love to hear from everybody. Where are you at? In the US, probably. I'm assuming most people are. Maybe you're vacationing somewhere lovely. And then what do you do for work so that we can start to understand business owner versus the individual flow that we want to build. But while we're waiting for that coming in, and Kevin, maybe you can keep an eye on that. We got the
Sure.
business owner, and let me show you what we're going to build out for John here. While I pull this up, I got this for my business. I'm just reading through the chats. Didn't even think being able to use it for my personal. Thanks for mentioning that. You bet. Happy to do that. South Carolina, love it. Music studio owner, wonderful. Full-time employee in IT, small business. Okay, perfect. This is spot on. So we've got everybody so far in the business owner side as well as the personal side. So yes, we'll go through all of these with you guys. So this is what we're going to set up for John, right? Pretty typical situation, but we can, again, endlessly customizable. But in this situation, John is making about $30,000 in revenue. One of the biggest challenges that by far we see, and maybe everybody who has, whether it's a side hustle or you own the business entirely and that's your main gig, setting aside money for taxes. It's brutal. Money comes in, we need to spend it on operations, payroll, anything that we need to buy for the business. And then at the end of the year, it's a scramble to figure out where we're paying that tax bill from. So he wanted to make sure that he was setting money aside proactively every single time it comes in into a tax account so that he didn't have to worry about it or think where the money was coming from. It was always going to be there. Wanted to make sure that his $3,000 of monthly business expenses was always taken care of. And he also wanted to say, hey, if he got less than $20,000 in a month, he's going to pay himself $5,000. But if he made more than that, he was going to pay himself 50% of the remaining balance after the business expenses and the taxes were taken out of it. Want to maintain a $15,000 minimum business checking account so that, we have some wiggle room, a little bit of an emergency fund, and then wanted the remaining funds to be putting into a business savings account. So with that, let me pull up my other screen and I will start sharing. Give me 1 second here. Boom. Okay. Great. So now we're going to share this. Share. And Kevin, let me know when you can see my big empty sequence map.
I can't see it yet. I'm still seeing John.
Oh, okay. Let me try one more. I'll stop sharing. Come back front and center.
Do you have your multi-screen setup going today, Nick?
Yeah, I've got a lot of screens. We got 3 right now. So let's close this. Bring this here.
While you're working on that, do you want me to tell a crazy money map story?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the one that I always used to tell in these sessions was about Neil, one of the guys who is he's a IT professional and at one point was working 2 full-time jobs at the same time. I don't even know how you do that.
God
But
bless him.
his problem was he also had kind of hardcore ADHD. And so he had a bunch of spreadsheets that he was working out of. And with some cases, he found that he was getting billed 13 times a year instead of 12. And so he was missing dates. And he took basically, he was able to dump all that stuff into sequence and then saved enough money that he put it into a like sort of a gas fund and took a motorcycle trip across the country and raised his credit score 35 points in 3 months. So
God bless
your
him.
mileage may vary literally and figuratively, but it was a cool story.
That's too good. Awesome. All right. So now can you see it, Kevin? All right, good. So when you log in the first time, you're going to see something like this. This is a blank map. I had to delete a boatload of things because I just done another demo, but want to show you a couple quick things just so everybody can stay oriented in where we are here. In the bottom left corner, you're going to see a use a template. This is a great tool if you're getting started, but I'm also going to build it from scratch just so that everybody can see it. But if we click on this, we've already pre-built some templates, some pretty basic pieces here that'll walk you through step by step, literally either syncing your existing accounts or creating new accounts if needed to accomplish these goals. So maybe you've heard of the 50/30/20 strategy, which is kind of like a conscious spending plan where it's 50% goes to your needs, 30% to your wants, 20% to your debts and liabilities. And this will literally not only explain it, but at the same point in time, it'll walk you through this process of connecting an income source, which is where the money comes into the system. It's a checking account that we open for you so that we can start to use our smart rules. And then it'll walk you through the rest of the steps of making sure that you're either syncing your existing checking accounts or savings accounts or investment accounts and giving you the option to create new accounts with just 2 clicks inside of our system. That's part one. Part two, if you ever have any questions, we've always got this little chat guy down here in the bottom right. You can ask a question. We've got both an AI agent live 24/7 and an unbelievable support team who is always monitoring this stuff as well. So if our little friend here, Finn, I guess, what a clever name we gave him or her, is not able to help you with that problem, our support team will make sure to get to you, and they're fantastic. So we've got that there. The last piece that I want to show you, and there's plenty more, but the core pieces that we're going to be using are down here at the bottom. We've got create income source, which I told before, checking account through our partner bank, Thread Bank, fully FDIC insured, based out of Nashville, Tennessee. We use them because you can use whatever bank that you want. Like I have accounts at PNC and Capital One, as well as all of our investment accounts, but you don't need to use just Thread Bank. This just allows us to start sending the money. What I've noticed over the past probably 6 months of now using Sequence is I actually use Sequence, like literally have debit cards. I don't know if you can see that for Sequence for all of our accounts, just because it's so much easier and everything moves quicker. So now that I can actually use it for all of it, I've actually gotten rid of PNC, only down to one Capital One account just for the interest rate on our emergency savings. But we're bank agnostic. It just allows us to run on the rails to send money where it needs to go. We got the connect accounts, which I'll show you here in a minute, and then creating a pod, which is just a silly kind of developer name of creating an additional account. We're able to create accounts, whether that's we want to save money for our vacation fund or our emergency fund or to buy a new car or for our bills. Like we can create accounts individually, which again is really powerful when it comes to allocating money correctly for a specific type of need rather than having one general pot of money, which is probably where we all are, because that's the typical default for most people. Having your current checking account where all of your fund money, all of your bills, all of your savings comes out of, that's a tough way for you to really build wealth when it's all coming out of the same spot. There's a theory called loss aversion. I won't get into it, but if you ever want to nerd out on behavioral finance, don't hesitate to reach out. I love that stuff. So we're going to go back to Ben here, or excuse me, to Ben, to our sample John. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and start create an income source. And so you guys can see this. I click create an income source. In this account, we signed up for the pro plan. So we've got the business option as well as the individual option. We can tell that because we're looking at the beneficiary. Whenever we're creating an account or syncing an account, we just want to make sure that we're clicking the correct one, because one of the most common questions we get, it's like, hey, I can't import my account or I can't send money to my account. 90% of the time it's because you picked the individual. In this case, it's the made up Nick Franklin, and it's a business account, or vice versa. You've clicked Nick Enterprises and you're trying to send money to an individual account. So you always just want to make sure that the beneficiary matches the actual name that is on the account you're trying to create. So since this guy's a business owner, we're going to call this business income. We click OK. And just like that, we've got this account set up. And as you can see on the right-hand side, don't worry about stealing these numbers. These are fake. I'm in a fake account, but we're going to automatically create a checking account with a routing number, an account number. And for those of you who are a W-2 employee or getting a paycheck from somebody else, you can either transfer money into this. If you want to keep your account, you can, no problem. I find it much easier for us to initially send money to Sequence and then route it, but you can always transfer money into it. And you can click any of the accounts that you've got. You can use our salary deposit switch, which integrates with a bunch of HR tools. So it'll automatically upload this routing and account number as the new destination for your paychecks. Or you can click generate a direct deposit PDF, which will fill out the thing that I'm sure we've all seen whenever you start a new job that you got to fill out, which whenever this loads, There you go. Well, I just sign, date, authorize, like here's the payment information for where I want my money to go. But we've got that started. And then now what we're going to do is I'm actually going to connect the accounts. And if any of you have used any type of budgeting tool before, Mint, Rocket Money, Monarch, you name it, fill in the blank. You've gone through something called Plaid, great tool. It's essentially piping behind the scenes to allow us to sync up to any accounts. And what we can do here is you're going to click the type of account that you want to import, in this case, banking accounts. It's going to go through this flow, which, sorry, it takes a little, like an extra minute or so on our side because we're in the development experience, not the end user experience. But what this allows us to do is find all of your accounts and then sync them into the process. So I'll go through this with you so that you can see it. You find your bank. You're going to enter in your username and password after we click continue. You'll want to put in your phone number because this will actually send you text. I'm continuing as a guest because, again, these are all fake accounts. But it will ask you to log in. Can you see that first platypus bank? Or are you guys just looking at the
We
sequence
can
map?
see the login at USAA.
Oh, okay. Let me I didn't share my full monitor, I guess. Let's do the full desktop so you can see it. This always cracks me up. Here we go. This is
Now
our
we can
Fank
see the
bait.
pop up.
I would always love to. I wish there was a first platypus bank. Um, but this way you can actually kind of see this process. So you'll sign in, you'll get your code, you'll put in your code, and then it'll show you all the different accounts that you've got accessible. So let me just select some of these. You'll probably want to pull in all of yours, but this way you can at least just see some of these different pieces. Click there, agree to the terms and conditions. And now Sequence, in combination with Plaid, is pulling all of those accounts and they'll be brought over here. Again, you'll want to save your number because from a multi-factor authentication and the security perspective, you'll want to put it in there, but I'm continuing without saving just because, again, we're in a sample account. So it'll be loading these in, and then we can take our next step, which is going to be creating our pods because, again, the goal here is to start to route money to the different goals and objectives that John has or that you will have so that we can start to go from the revenue that comes in to the ultimate end destination of the account that we have. And I'll move these around a little bit just while they're loading up so that we can kind of see them. And you'll see some different colors here, right? We're trying to color code these a bit just to give everybody an idea of what they've got. So you'll see accounts that are liabilities, like your credit cards, your mortgages in yellow. You'll see investment accounts in green. You'll see bank accounts in gray. So we've got it. Again, hopefully yours have more than $0. It's just these are all linking up into our fake site. So at this point in time, now what we can do is we want to address his goals that he had. And I am actually going to bring up this. Let's see if I can do this. Let's bring this up so you guys can actually see this. You can see that now, right? Can you
Yep,
see,
we can see it.
John? Okay,
John.
cool.
Yep.
I'm going to shrink this down a little bit so that we can, maybe not. There we go. This way we can kind of keep it all in perspective of what we actually want to accomplish. So we don't have to, not only I can see it. So we've got our business income here. The first thing that you want to do is make sure that he has a tax account so that he can set money aside. And right here, I'm going to create a pod. I'm going to call this taxes. I'm going to make sure it's the business beneficiary because these are business accounts. Oh, I thought I deleted everything. Look at that. Taxes biz. That's why some of those accounts didn't pull over because they're probably some, there they are. I was wondering where the rest of them are. Okay. Well, we'll pull them over here in a little bit. So I created business taxes. So we've got that set up right there. The next piece that we want to do is make sure that the business expenses we're getting $3,000 a month. So in this case, he didn't have an existing business expense account. Maybe this account was, and so we could relabel it business expenses, but just to show you the soup to nuts, like building everything out, how this works. Business expenses, expenses. One of the challenges of being dyslexic and running live streaming tutorials where you got to spell. Um, the next piece is one of the rules that we want to set up. So we want owners pay. Okay. And we want, what else did we want? 15 in the business checking expenses and business savings. So let's do business savings. And there we go. So we've got all these. And it looks like our dev team is probably doing work as we speak on the model site where we're testing, hence the reason that you're seeing this constantly scrolling, looking for an answer. So we should be able to get all of this stuff done regardless. As you can see, all of these accounts that we just created, those with what, 2 clicks, we titled them, and you can always change the name of them up here if you want to as you're playing around. But all of these accounts have the routing account number. These are checking accounts. You can even issue a debit card, a virtual debit card, which you can add to your Apple Wallet or Google Wallet, or you can get a physical debit card as well for $10, which literally what you see right here, what I use on a day-to-day basis. I'm even going to show you before the end, Kevin, remind me to tell people about the Omni card that allows you to select, like I have an Omni card because I'm a business owner and I can select any of my different accounts that are connected on Sequence to pay from. With one card, I can spend from 10, 12 different accounts. So if I'm going to do a business expense purchase, one thing. If I'm doing going out for a meal, I can do another thing. If I'm buying groceries on my personal side, I can literally hop online, quickly tap which account I want it to come from, and it will pull from the correct account. It's a pretty amazing little tool. So now that we've got this, what we're going to do is we're going to start to create our rules. And all we need to do is simply click and drag. And at this point in time, we have the option to trigger by incoming funds, meaning every single time money's dropped in to this account. So every single time we get a client paying a bill, this rule would, or set of rules would run instantly. Or we can trigger by date. Maybe you've got fluctuating income, like we've got literally, you might be able to hear my landscaper out in the back right now. And obviously they do great in the spring and summer, not so hot in the fall and winter. Triggering by date can help you streamline those ebbs and flows in your business revenue. For right now, when it comes to business taxes, I want to do trigger by incoming funds. And what we're going to do is we're going to trigger 30% is going to business taxes. And just like that, I click save and I'm good to go. So now every single time money comes into this account, 30% is automatically going to be going to our business taxes. And you always have the option up here, this little beaker. It says rule simulation. What you can do is you can click on it and we can say, okay, let's imagine that there's $20,000 in there right now and we get another $10,000. Well, we can run that simulation. And just like that, we can see that that money's in there because the business income was already there. The new money that already happened to come in, the $10,000, that 30% or $3,000 is going right there. Okay, so you can always test this to make sure that it's working. And if you want to add rules to it, we can certainly do that. I'm going to leave that for right now because I just want to show you a couple different ways to do this. So right now, every single time money comes into this account, regardless of how much or how little, that 30% is going to be going to business taxes. Everything else stays here. Now, for the next step, we could just build off of this rule. And so every single time money comes in, a whole host of rules happens. The way that I have it set up in my business is that I have instantly money going there. And then I like to pay myself on a monthly basis, but you might say bi-weekly, weekly, doesn't matter. I just want to show you the trigger by date. So I'm going to set the rest of the rules up on a date-based rule. And here what we can do is the trigger is scheduled from business income. And we're going to do this on we can do daily, monthly, weekly, bi-weekly, the 1st and the 15th. Let's just do a bi-weekly since that might be helpful for people. And we're going to do this on, let's say, Fridays. And so what we want to do here is we wanted to make sure that he was getting $3,000 per month in our business expenses. And actually, now that I say that, I'm going to change this to monthly so we don't have to, half every one of these amounts. It'll just make it easier. So we can, on the monthly side, we can choose any of the dates, or in this case, I'll just do the last day of the month. We'll clear out the account on the last day and be good to go. So we're going to transfer a fixed amount of $3,000. And I always like to click this button, the transfer up to. I don't know if you can read that. It's probably pretty darn small, but it says this action will transfer any available funds from the business income to the business expense up to $3,000. Meaning if we don't have this checked and you only have $2,000 in the account on the last day of the month, given this rule, that rule wouldn't run if it's not checked because it doesn't have $3,000. But if you want to make sure whatever's in there gets transferred, click that button and it'll take all of the money up to $3,000 and send it into the business expense account. Now, you always have the ability to add a limit. So you can say, but I only want to do $100 per transfer week, month, year. I would ignore that for right now. That's really helpful when you're funding retirement accounts or IRAs because there's annual caps on how much you can put into, let's say, a Roth IRA. So that's a really good time to use a limit, but we don't need to do that here for our business expenses. Now, the next thing that we want to do is we want to create a couple more pieces for our owner's pay. And I'm getting a little in the weeds here because I did in John's case here, we wanted to be able to do an if else statement, which means if this is the case, then run one set of rules. If it's not the case, run another set. If it doesn't make sense initially, don't worry about it. The vast majority of our users are not using if then or if else statements or conditions inside of their maps. But for those of you that are a little bit more advanced or want to see that functionality, I wanted to make sure we can at least show it. So I'm going to do a basic situation right now, and then I'll show you how to change it up. So if the funds are less than $20,000, that's what we're going to operate off of right now. So if the funds are less than $20,000 at the end of the month, we want the owner's pay to be $5,000. Fixed amount of money into our, and we're going to go down here, owner's pay. You see two because I have that other map. This one's the one with the apostrophe, 5,000. And again, transfer up to so that heaven forbid it's only 4,800. We're at least still getting paid. Wonderful. And then the last piece was we're going to transfer. Now we've been doing fixed amount. We want to transfer a percentage of the source's account balance, 100% of what's left. We want to go to the business savings account. And so now, just like that, when I click save, I've got this rule set up. So whenever money hits the business income account, 30% is going to taxes. And on the last day of the month, the rule is running where $3,000, the first $3,000 goes to the business expenses. The next $5,000 goes to the owner's pay, and everything else, whether it's a penny or $100,000, is going into the business savings account. And again, we can test this rule. We can see the balance of $50,000. Run the simulation. We got 3,000 of the business expenses, 5,000 of the owner's pay, and 42,000 of the business savings. You might say, why don't we see the taxes? Well, that's because the taxes are automatically coming out the instant that the money hits the account. This is just running the simulation based on the last day of the month. So I'll pause real quick because I've been talking the whole time. Kevin, we tracking so far? Any questions or anything that you want to add in at this point?
Yeah, we are tracking so far. I'm gonna briefly sidebar for just a second because if folks are following along on the stream on socials, they won't see any of the questions that we're getting in chat. So
Cool.
we answered this for Hannah in chat, but I also want to just say it out loud so we can share that with the general audience.
Sure.
She asked, can you go into more information or share more info about how to pay from different accounts with the same card? So can you just talk about the difference in what's coming with the Omni card versus the way that physical cards work now in Sequence?
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect sidebar. So right now, where you can get cards for, and I know I've got the insider access, so I can get the Omni card. It's only available to business owners. You need to be on one of the business plans. What you can do in any of these pink boxes, which are again pods, which are just checking accounts that we're able to open up for you, you can always issue your debit card. So virtual debit card is what we started with. We just released the physical debit cards, the individual physical debit cards. So originally everybody was just paying from their Apple Wallet or their Google Wallet. Then we released the physical cards. Like this one is tied specifically to my monthly expenses. So if we add a new subscription, we use this card, right? Or if we have something else that we need to do for the house related, like it's this card. With the Omni card, which, I was smart enough to remember bringing my wallet in. You'll see this says business debit card, right? So this card, which I've added to my Google Wallet as well, what this allows us to do, and I'm realizing now I don't know if I'll be able to show it to you. Maybe I can. Let's see. So if you click on cards down here, which again, you guys might not have this access yet because we just started rolling this out. The cards option, what we can do here is we can create and click on either virtual and Omni or physical. If we do the Omni card, get it now, we'll go through this process, order now for $10. I wonder what this will do since this is a fake account. So We might need to apologize to a tie. But what that will do is send you this card, which, and I'm going to be recording a video on this literally tomorrow that we'll be putting up on our YouTube channel since I can't show it to you here because I don't physically have it. What it allows you to do is when you're inside of this page where you've got the cards, it'll show your Omni card and it'll have a drop down menu. What account do you want to spend out of? And so in this user's case, they would have the option to business income, tax business, business expense, owner's pay, business savings, or any of the other accounts they've created. And so literally just, I was at the grocery store the other day, wanted to take it out of our grocery account. So I pulled open my account, went to the right one, clicked it, used the card, and it pulled it out of that account. So it's a pretty amazing tool. So you don't have to be carrying around 6, 10, 15 different cards based on each of your accounts, and allows you to, instantly, it was literally, I started putting the groceries on the conveyor belt, moved to which account I wanted to pull it out of. And by the time she was done scanning, it pulled from the correct account. So I don't know how quick it is, but it was less than probably 2 minutes of time that I was able to change it and pulled from the correct account. So hopefully that helps out. Sorry, I can't show you the full details since I'm in the sample account, but hopefully that gives you the idea. And we'll have a more detailed video up probably in the next week or so on the YouTube channel. Does that make sense, Kevin?
It does.
Great.
I have one more sidebar question for you,
Sure.
Nick, while we have a second.
Yeah.
Chad asked if there's a way to set up a dummy account to practice different ways to set things up.
Yeah.
So, can you speak to Playground for a second?
Yeah, exactly. So go to getsequence.io. Hopefully you like our new website. Oh, this is funny. Interesting, Kevin. I'm just noticing this now. I think this launched on Monday.
Yeah.
Usually, up until Monday, Playground is up here. Maybe. Oh, I'm glad we sidebarred to here because this used to exist as an option up here. Let's see if I can click on Playground. Okay, it does still exist. Maybe we'll put this. Let me put this in the chat for everybody, and we'll just have to tell our team to make sure to add it up there. Playground. Well, what is it in there? I just closed the chat. Playground.getsequence.io. Is that what I put in? Oh yeah, there it is.
Yep, that's what it is.
Playground.getsequence.io. One, just a heads up. This gives you about, let's call it 75-80% of the functionality. We're always creating new sets of rules like debt snowball, debt avalanche, paying off a percent of liability. But this allows you to build an income source. You're not going to go through Plaid or anything like that, but we could still, do this where we create a business income. It'll populate with random numbers, but you can still go in, and see, obviously not the same amount of information, but we can go in, we can add our existing checking accounts, we can create a pod for taxes, and we can create our rules. So again, you can get, let's call it 75 to 90% of the functionality, and you can play around in here. User experience is slightly different, but again, great place to test it out, make sure you're seeing how things work and getting comfortable with it. Does that help?
Hey, yeah. Hey, Nick. Colin did share that the link to Playground in the news site is in the footer. So
Oh,
they just
well,
moved it.
we'll tell our team to not put it in the footer and put it in the header
Right.
as well.
Right. Yeah, we'll work on that. But new
Yeah.
design,
Yeah. You just got to go
moving
into
the
the terms
furniture
and
around.
conditions and then, yeah, scroll down page 9.
Right.
Try to bury that as much as possible. No, so everybody can access it now or go to the footer of the new website.
There is
So,
another question.
oh yeah, yeah.
Adrian, we get this question a lot. Adrian wants to know about the possibility of an app. Can you speak to that for a
Yeah.
second?
Yeah, I would say so. The website's mobile friendly, like, and when you log in, it's mobile friendly. The challenges with like an app per se is that there's just so much to do that fitting it on a 2-inch by 3-inch screen, like you can, it's mobile friendly. You can drag stuff around, but if you imagine, I don't know, I guess I could, make this mock it up to be 2 inches by 3 inches. Like it starts to get a little complex to try to move everything around. So mobile friendly. You can add it as a tab on your home screen if you just click on the URL, like, I don't know, cheat sheet for anybody, but if you want to add anything on that you're online with, you just click on that little export button where you can send it to, a friend if you want to send them a website. You just click add to home screen. You can label it whatever you want it, sequence, and then it acts like it's an app. So just the easiest way
Cool.
to do it for right now. Okay. Now, let me finish this up because I know we're running tight on time, but then we can use the rest of it for any additional questions. So in this case, we've got this set up. So we have the money flowing instantly. 30% is going to business taxes, and then 3,000 is going to expenses, 5,000 to owner's pay, and everything else to business savings. Now, he did say, as you can see down here, that was if he makes less than $20,000, he wanted that $5,000. If he made more than $20,000, or I should say the business made more than $20,000 over the course of the month, he wanted 50% of the money, and then that was after the business expenses. So I'm going to show you conditions real quick. Again, you don't necessarily need to use this. This is where we're getting maybe instead of a 101 class, this is like a 151 class. But what we can do is we can say condition. If the balance of our business income is less than $20,000, we want this rule to run. So that's exactly what we just did. So we created his situation where if the funds are less than $20,000, he's going to send 3,000 to business expenses, 5,000 to owner's pay, everything else to business savings. And this little box popped up because this is the else situation, a little bit of programmer code, but if or else. So now, if that's not the case, if there's over $20,000 when this rule runs on the end of the month, we're going to transfer a fixed amount of $3,000 to our business expenses. I'm going to click that little button again so it transfers up to. And then we're going to transfer 50% of the remaining balance. So 50, little tongue tied there, sorry. Transfer a percentage of the account's balance, sorry, of 50% to the owner's pay. And then I can click add account, and the remaining 50% is going to be going to our business savings. And so now what I've set up is two different rules. If he's making less than $20,000, rule one runs where he's getting paid $5,000. If it's more than $20,000, he will get 50% of it. And I can again test that by using my run simulation. And we can say, okay, what happens if we put in $15,000? Well, now it's $3,000. He's making his $5,000 because again, it was under 20K. And then the remaining 100% of the remainder goes to business savings. But now if it's $55,000, we're going to run the simulation, 3,000 to the business expenses, $26,000 goes to the owner's pay because he wanted 50% of it, and 26 goes to the business savings. So again, it's smart enough that it's understanding that logic so that we're all set, ready to go, and can rock and roll. And I want to show you one other thing. I'm just going to relabel this real quick. Let's pretend this is his primary checking account. Because again, you don't need to use Thread Bank for all of these. What he could do is he could simply issue a debit card and use this as his primary spending. But if you want it to go to your primary checking account, all we would need to do is trigger by incoming funds. And we can say transfer 100% of it instantly to the primary checking. Just fair warning, when we send it out of Thread Bank, it's regular ACH. So it's going to take 2, 3, sometimes 4 business days to get there, depending on the technology that your bank has, because unfortunately some banks have some pretty slow, antiquated technology, so it can take a little bit longer. But just want to give you an idea. You can do it that way. You can also, what a lot of our owners do is they'll, instead of sending 100%, they'll try to get themselves on a more balanced budget so that they're not having those huge ebbs and flows. And so in this case, they might do a biweekly paycheck and transferring a fixed amount of, let's just call it $8,000 or up to. So that's still a great pay every other month. But this way, every biweekly on Fridays. So in this case, now he's essentially creating a little bit of a emergency fund inside of here. He's not emptying it out every single time, but it can allow it to build up so that even in those slower months, he's still getting paid his biweekly paycheck while preserving some of that money in the owner's pay for the slower months. Let's see. So we've gotten through all these pieces. The last piece here, maintain $15,000 minimum in the business checking account. So let me show you a cool little rule. This is like I said, business checking down here. Let's just call this business checking as opposed to expenses so that we can keep the terminology correct. So business checking, what we can do here is actually create a rule because we want to make sure that it's always got $15,000 in it. What we can do is trigger this by incoming funds from our savings account, right? It's the emergency fund. It's, it'd be great if we could grow money on trees, but we need to, if we want to make sure there's at least 15,000 in it, we need to make sure it's from somewhere. So in this case, it's the business savings account. And what this is going to do is this is going to trigger every single time. Or if we wanted to, we could have this check on a date basis. We could do this daily. This might be a better way to do it. So every single day it'll check this. And we can say we want to top up, this is another rule. So top up this account to $15,000. And what this means is that the top up rule, one of my favorites, especially for emergency funds, is that it allows us to set a goal. So let's say you want $100,000 in your emergency fund, or maybe it's $10,000. You can literally say, I want to top up this account to $10,000, and it will continue to put money into that account until it gets to that point so that you never have to forget about it or think about it again. And you can even add a limit where you're saying, okay, well, maybe if it's your emergency fund that you're topping up, you only want to put in up to $500 per month. No problem. You just say $500 per month and it'll continue to build it up. In this case, since we're trying to make sure that our business checking never drops below 15,000, we could say we never want it to do more than I don't know, $2,000 per week. I would actually take this away because he just wants to make sure that it never drops below 15,000. So every single day, it'll be looking at the business checking account. It'll be seeing if it's below $15,000. If it is, it'll transfer, it'll fill up or top up that account to 15,000, and it'll keep doing that every single day, making sure that he's always got that extra money in there to feel comfortable and has everything set. So just like that, we've got his full account set up. And again, we can add in all of these other pieces. I know we're running real tight on time, so let me just show you one other cool thing that you can do. I wouldn't necessarily do this with my mortgage and student loan, but we do have quite a few Dave Ramsey fans. So what's one thing you could do if these were all business expenses, what you
Hey,
can do
Nick.
for, yeah, Kevin.
I'm sorry to interrupt. We're not
No.
currently seeing your screen, so I want to make sure
Oh,
that
you're
you're.
not?
No, we're not. So, and
Oh,
we are seeing your awesome
I was
backdrop,
doing
which
all of
is,
that without sharing my screen.
yeah, like
Oh, I'm so sorry.
just
Feel interrupt me next time.
all
Can
good. You
Chad
seemed
see
on a
it? I'm
roll.
seeing Chad say something. You could see it?
I'm not seeing it. I'm just seeing
Okay.
your
Good. I was
setup.
getting like I got the stop share button, but you can see it, Chad, or anybody give me a thumbs up, Hannah?
Okay, if
Okay,
the rest of
good.
you guys can see it, then that's maybe a me problem. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. Phew. I would have felt really bad. I was like, man, I wish somebody would have stopped me. I'm trying to explain a visual tool just in audio only. Um, So the last thing here, just again, you don't need to do this in the business checking, but just to give everybody an idea of some of the power behind here, what we can do is we have these three liabilities, right? I'm going to put these up here so that we can space them out a little bit. What we can do when it comes to paying off our debts is we have this really interesting tool or set of tools. I'm going to trigger this by date because we all pay our bills typically on a monthly basis. So we'll do this monthly. We'll just pretend that they're due in the middle of the month. And now when we're connecting to a liability, we have a couple new options. We have transfer fixed amount, we have a percent of the account's balance, we have a couple of these other pieces that I won't get into, but we have execute debt avalanche, which if you're not familiar, it looks at the interest rate on each of your accounts and it'll put the minimum balance due on every single account and then take whatever's left over. Say, I want to put $2,000 towards my debts. Well, it'll pay the minimum balance on all the debts you connect and then put all of the remaining funds into the one with the highest interest rate. Debt Snowball is just a similar version of that, where it'll look at all of your debts from a balance perspective, and it'll put a minimum payment on each of them, and then it'll take the remainder and put on the lowest debt. The idea being that you'll knock that out first, and then all of the new remaining funds will start to snowball down to the other ones. So you can actually do those. You can pay the current balance, a percent of the liability, the minimum payment, but I just want to show you the debt snowball because it's kind of cool. So in this case, we could say every single month we're going to put $3,000 into our debt snowball. And all I need to do is click add account and then pick the remaining debts that I have. So in this case, it's the Plaid credit card and it's the Plaid student loans. You're seeing duplicates because I've got them already synced on the other side. So now we do that. And then you're going to get this alert. Got it. There's one more step to ensure the payments go through. You got to add your sequence auto payment source on your biller's website. Because this is one thing. We can't just send money to Amex or send money to your bank where your mortgage is at. What you need to do is you can click got it. You can click here to see how to do it. It literally walks you through that entire setup. What we do for all of our little liabilities, you might have seen this little $00 below all of them. What this means is, and you'll get another alert here, finish connecting your account. You just need to go into your biller, Amex, Wells Fargo, you name it, and then you need to give them this information. This is where the money is going to be coming from because this is where we're going to push the money to this account, and then that's where they're going to auto draw the money from. So that's the one thing that we just need to make sure everybody does because we're not just going to send money. Most of these banks aren't great. The receivers are not great at receiving money from next outside account. They typically want to be able to go in and pull the money. So that's why we've got this set up so that you just need to do that one additional step on your side. Go in, make sure this is the account that you're pulling from, and you're good to go. Um, or if you're like me, and I'll show you this is a similar map that we've built out. If you're like me in our household account, sorry, I'm scrolling over. What we did is I kind of explained this beforehand, but we have two different primary pieces where we have our recurring expenses and we've got our fun money. And what I did, I didn't set them up in that fashion before where all of my accounts were sending money to the destination. What I just simply did is went into all of my bill payers, like our car insurance, our auto payment, our home, and just gave them this information as the account to pull from. So every single month I have, $10, $15,000 going into the recurring expenses. They're automatically pulling it. So every single month it starts great, it gets drawn down, and then the next month it tops back up and they pull their money. You're good to go. So plenty of ways to do this. It's all customizable, but just wanted to show you a couple quick examples of how to do that. So I will stop talking now, Kevin. I want to make sure we save these last 9, 10 minutes for everybody. I do have a hard stop at 1 o'clock in 9 minutes, but happy to answer any additional questions that have piled up.
Yeah, so Adrian had a question he asked a little while ago about the debit card function,
Mhm.
and he wants to know how to access the debit card function to change the account which you want to purchase from. And so some of this goes back to, it feels like some of this goes back to the Omni card, which is
Yeah.
not publicly available across the board yet, but is coming very soon. So do you want to
Yep.
speak to that?
Yeah. So right now, what everybody, and I'm glad I couldn't remember if it was accessible to everybody or not. So what everybody listening on this call can do is they can issue a debit card for any of their pods. In this case, let me just show you virtual debit card. Great. Wonderful. We just issued a virtual debit card. Here it is, right? They set the pin of the card. Oh, maybe I can't verify it because I don't actually have a cell phone in here and it's a fake account. You would verify it and then it would show you all of the numbers for the card. But again, my phone number's not in here because it's a test account. And then you just simply add that to your Google Wallet. Literally go into the Google Wallet, add new card, manually add, type in the number, CVV number, expiration date, name, and you're good to go. And then you just go up to the machine like you normally do and do it. That's the virtual debit card. The physical debit card, pretty self-explanatory. Click order a physical debit card. We'll just charge the account $10 and then it gets mailed to you, I don't know, week, 10 days, something like that. And then you just use it normally. What's coming, what I have access to, you guys will shortly, is the business debit card. So you got to be a business user. But then what that experience looks like, you'll see in the video that I'm going to be recording tomorrow. So that'll be out probably in 2 weeks, is that you'll have a slightly different ability. Like I don't think anybody can see this cards button yet. This is the thing that's coming. Oh, there we go. So if you do have cards, they'll show here. Mine actually shows Omni card, looks really fancy. And then in this little spot right here, I have a drop-down menu where I can select and it just shows me all of my accounts and I can click on whichever one I want and then I'm good to go. So it would literally, it looks similar to what was it? Like that the drop-down menu looks similar to this type of functionality. Like you'll see all of these different accounts. So imagine if this tiny little portion of the window was right here. So hopefully that explains it. Does that help, Kevin?
Yes, sir.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you. Great question, Adrian.
Yep.
I
Um,
think that I'm not seeing a bunch of additional questions that have popped up.
okay.
If you guys have some for Nick, now's the time. We've covered a lot of ground in the past 54 minutes, and we do have a hard stop in a few. So if there are questions, feel free raise your hand. We can call on you. Looks like Chad had another question. Said for the investment accounts, like Schwab, for example,
Yep.
can I push that money, or does Schwab have to pull it? Tara shared a link in the knowledge base
Okay.
that's got a walkthrough. But also, Nick, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I think you can do both, Tara. Feel free to chime in. What I have in my personal setup was because I didn't want to go through all of the work of this sending. Because I have a financial advisor. And so what I did in this case, I'm going to build off of this a little bit. So I'm going to say investments. This is similar to what mine looks like. So this is the individual side now. So I changed the beneficiary. So what we had similar in my account is the owners pay here. We had $8,000 going to the primary checking. And then I added another rule where I'm going to transfer $2,000 into the investments account, save. And so just like that, every single month or every 2 weeks, I think is how we set this up. 8,000 here, 2,000 here. And then what I have, you can send this money to it. So trigger by incoming funds. Let's just make it simple. We're going to do 50% to the 401k, and we're going to do 50% to the Plaid HSA. Oh, that's not one that can receive it. So this is a perfect example, actually. Let's do that. So we'll send 50% there. So we're going to send that money to the 401k. More likely than not, you're going to need to go into your provider to tell it what to do with funds received. Because like I was at Vanguard for a long time, money would typically go to just like a cash account. So you'll need to make sure that you have set up inside of, I can't remember where you said, maybe it's Schwab, what to do with new funds received and where you want to allocate those funds. Or you can simply go to Schwab, or in this case, our HSA, and tell it what account to pull from. In this case, like what we do in our family is then just have it, this is the account that they're pulling from, and just telling it how much to pull from. So that's the way that I do it currently. Send money to the investment pod and then have each of our different investments, whether it's the 529s for my three kids, our brokerage account, or our money market account, pulling the correct amount of money from that account. But Tara, feel free to chime in. I almost positive you can send it there. You just have to obviously make sure they know what they're doing with those funds when they receive them, because I think most providers will typically default it to a cash account. So that doesn't help you if you have, $100,000 just sitting in cash over the course of the year.
Great question.
Yep.
Okay, and then this one has sort of been answered in chat as well, but I'm gonna make sure that we say it out loud just because
Cool.
we're streaming. Adrian also wanted to make sure that he understood adding beneficiaries, and
Mhm.
so Colin responded within your profile. You can go to users. Tara talked about business beneficiaries and setting those up the same way that you added your business. If it's a personal beneficiary, you need to add them as a co-owner, also known as setting up a joint account. Um, anyway,
Yeah,
Nick,
so
what am
here's
I
how
leaving
you'd
out
add
there?
users, right? We just click on the little, humanoid thing in the top right, profile, users. You can invite a new user. Again, they will get access to everything. So just as a heads up, right? Don't do that to just anybody, but for a spouse, that's certainly fair. And then beneficiaries, right? This is where you would add the people. So approved means they've gone through KYC. You might not know what that means. Just it's banking regulations. Know your customer, and KYB, which is know your business. So if you don't see your business, you'll click add a new business, and then you have to go through this. This is just straight up banking regulation. Like you have to go through these pieces. You'll get it set up. It goes through the verification process on our side, and then once it's all set up, you'll see it in here. Once that's done, that's when you'll see when you're creating a new account where you'll see multiple beneficiaries. Whoever's been approved will have the opportunity to be a beneficiary on there.
All right, we got one last question.
Cool.
Adrian wants to know how he changes his address for his profile. He just moved last week, and it looks like it's still accessing his old address. So if he wants to update his address, what's the
That's a
easiest way to do
good
that?
question. I would say we got Colin and Tara on here. Maybe they can chime in. That's one of the tactical pieces I'm not as familiar with. But always, if you ever have any questions, our support team's amazing. You got access to them here, and we could even ask Finn a question, that same question, or you can message the support team right here and they literally triage it all. Or you can email support@getsequence.io and then that goes to the whole
Yeah.
team.
Yep, that's what Tara recommended is support at getsequence.io. And then they obviously like need to verify your new address and stuff like that. But
Makes sense.
yeah, amazing.
Cool.
Nick, thank you.
Yeah, perfect timing. And with 30 seconds left, so glad that worked well.
If if folks have additional questions, you can always reach out to support at getsequence.io, like we were just talking about. Nick is pretty great about producing a bunch of really killer videos that show up on our YouTube feed. So if you want to go see how to do some individual things and some of the different strategies and tactics that we employ, that's a great place to find them.
Yeah, and I would even say,
Anything else?
or
Go ahead.
sorry, yeah, Kevin, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Like to add to your point, I appreciate the comments, but if you guys have questions or things that you wish there were videos about, also send that over to support. They then forward it over to me because we're always just trying to make the content that's as helpful as possible, like literally walking you guys through the steps. So we're trying to touch all those bases, but if there's things that you wish we had content about or videos about, let them know. They'll get it over to me and we'll get it recorded.
Awesome. We'll send around a recording of this to everybody who RSVP'd when it compiled. And if you have any questions, like Nick says, just wave at us anytime. We're glad to help.
Wonderful. All right.
All
Great
right.
to see everybody.
Have a good rest of your day, folks.
See
Bye,
y'all.
gang.